This video is going to be a film study focus on Alex Anzalone's impact in the Lions' 31-9 deconstruction of the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football to secure the NFC North for the second season in a row and gain home field advantage for the NFC playoffs. Get that coveted bye next week. Anzalone's first game back, he was integrated immediately. I think the elements that he brought to the field, besides great energy, a leadership from a communication standpoint, meaning pre-snap communication, and then also post-snap responsibility. He showed up where he was supposed to, at the correct time, in the correct location. He was a reliable contributor. Really, the difference between Anzalone being on the field and whoever the other guys were that they had out there was a drastic change in this Lions defense. If CD3 were to come back in any time soon, would he have as much of an impact, as much of a boost as Alex Anzalone? 2 nights ago, I thought the answer was yes. I'm not so sure after watching the film. The coverage paradigm, what they were able to do, starts with Alex Anzalone. Hopefully, I'm able to explain this in a way that makes sense prior to the film beginning. Essentially, Alex Anzalone was tasked with guarding the tight end man-to-man in pretty much every passing situation. At times, he's put in extreme conflict, in fact, and he handles it beautifully. I think T.J. Hockenson was 2 of 8 catches to targets. Maybe it was 3 of 8, something like that. Very inefficient. Sam Darnold was inefficient the whole night. I think the entire game plan from the Lions can be looked at through the lens of what Alex Anzalone can do as a starting point. Meaning, if he can provide adequate, good, or even very good coverage against the tight end, Aaron Glenn didn't have to allocate or dedicate guys like Brian Branch or Melifonwu to deal with T.J. Hockenson in those 11 personnel situations. Basically, third down when it's a known passing play, Alex Anzalone could handle the tight end, and that really allowed Aaron Glenn to push a safety away from the tight end and push a second safety or secondary safety thereafter and give Amik Robertson more leverage than maybe other corners are allowed to play with on the opposite side. Hopefully, as the film goes on, I can illustrate it and explain it to you. I'm not saying that the rest of the team doesn't deserve credit. They deserve a hell of a lot of credit. I did a pretty lengthy Amik Robertson film study on Monday. If you haven't checked it out yet, please consider doing so. I'll link it up here in a moment. I think Anzalone's impact is beyond what I realized Sunday night after watching the game, and maybe even what has been put out there so far on social media and different sports platforms. Let's get the film started, and we won't go through every single play. I think I've got 11 plays queued up here. Generally, I'll spot shadow him. Most of them are going to be against the pass, to be honest with you. This one in particular is in the first quarter. I think it's the Vikings' first possession. I'll give you both angle views. He's got great contact balance, man. First of all, Za'Darius Smith's a badass, setting him to the boundary, Smith to the boundary. And then Alex Anzalone, which is where he's almost always been lined up in this defense for the Lions, is just a great pairing. He's always going to fit correctly. And in this case, you see he can play through that contact of the offensive lineman and then get to the edge or get inside of the edge that's been set by Za'Darius Smith, who then spins back inside. A high-level play to get involved with the tackle, actually make first contact on Aaron Jones, ends up being a 2-yard gain on a 2nd and 4. End zone angle from the same play. Again, he's a boundary side inside linebacker. So boundary, if you're unsure of what I mean, ball is on the right hash here. So this is the short side of the field, commonly referred to as the boundary. And then the wide side over here would be referred to as the field. Direct zone concept. Za'Darius Smith sets it inside and then spins back to the inside. Anzalone also playing off of that contact. He's got great contact balance against the run and the pass. They both got credit for the tackle on that play. Notice his alignment oftentimes on these pass concepts. I mean, he's directly over the top of Hockenson. They're not making any bones about what's happening here. It's rare to see Anzalone lined up here and then blitz off the edge, and at least in this game, it didn't happen at all, but even in the last 2 years. This is still the first quarter. It's the first third down that I believe that the Vikings faced, and it's going to be an incomplete pass to Hockenson. I think that Anzalone was responsible for a lot of the checks. Even with the defensive backs, you'll see him correcting people or moving and shifting people around. And look, Hockenson is absolutely open here. There's a handful of times in this game where if the pressure didn't arrive just at the right time, Darnold would have had an extra 0.2 of a second to deliver probably a more accurate pass. This is one where the pass rush didn't get there necessarily. About the most separation that you got from Hawkinson when he had to deal with Anzalone man-to-man on Sunday night. Some of these goal line situations, just beautiful football. I want you to watch the level of physicality here. I'm going to run this one multiple times. This is Justin Jefferson in the backfield. The refs made them reload this play. I can't remember exactly what the reason was for it, but they're trying to get Jefferson out into the flats, okay? And the Lions respond with a zone defense call. There's Anzalone, but you've got so many guys physical here. Nowaski making contact with the tight end down to the bottom side of the screen and then picking up Jefferson. And I'm going to let this flow through multiple times. Look at Anzalone, collision Oliver, and then Hawkinson. So you've got hands on the tight end here. Collision with Oliver there, basically taking a charge, fronting him up, accepting the contact, and then stepping up to collision Hawkinson all at the same time. And oh, by the way, at the end of the play, Sam Darnold trying to make a throw into the end zone gets knocked on the ground like he did so many times. This was a extremely physical Lions defense on Sunday. High-level energy, high-level effort, probably buoyed or boosted by the crowd, I should say. But Anzalone, I think, had a tremendous impact from a check standpoint, meaning pre-snap. The guys all knew what they were supposed to be doing. I don't think that Jack Campbell had difficulty with that. I certainly don't mean to insinuate that at all. I'm a huge Jack Campbell fan. But Anzalone was definitely getting everybody in the right place, at least to his side of the field. Second quarter here, and it's a 3rd and goal. The Lions are up 7-0. There's Anzalone spot shadowed. Now they'll motion Hawkinson across, so technically the coverage here ends up being Jack Campbell. And it's a pick wheel, or fade if you will, against Campbell. So the receiver is kind of setting down, trying not to interfere or be called for offensive pass interference. Anzalone's not really involved in the coverage here at all. He's blitzing. As an aside, I thought Aaron Jones did a pretty good job of blitz pickup in this game multiple times. I don't know what his reputation is, but from watching the film Monday into Tuesday here, Jones seemed to be a guy who was quite capable and willing to accept contact against Anzalone, Campbell, whoever it was that stepped up into the hole. That play there led to a goal line stop on the very next snap. It's the quote overthrow from Sam Darnold to Justin Jefferson on the slant fade against Amik Robertson. The play where Brian Branch blitzes and actually makes contact with Darnold's hand just before the ball is released. Moving forward here, this is still 2nd and goal on another goal line situation after the failed 4th down that I referenced a moment ago. And the pressure often got there just in time. Look, does Darnold miss some throws? Sure, but I think there needs to be a little bit more credit sometimes for the fact that the Lions were bearing down on him, or in fact, in some cases, had actually just made contact, which impacted the throw. Anzalone's often tasked with reading the tight end and being responsible for him, especially to the boundary. So watch his eyes here, and then watch him confirm with the tight end right now. Okay, the tight end's staying in the block. I can go ahead and rush. And he gets there a little bit after the ball was thrown. Clearly, this is one that Darnold and the Vikings would like to have back. They'd like to say, hey, that could easily have been a touchdown there. Because of the routes underneath, Kirby Joseph ends up helping on a drag, and Amik Robertson doesn't have any help at all whatsoever underneath. As it stands, the Vikings had to settle for a field goal there to get within 7-3. Even early in the game, I thought Anzalone was having an impact by being physical with Hawkinson. And I want to illustrate how big of a task it is. And I think that, when you have DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, Jack Campbell's really good against the run, and a Brian Branch who played some more nickel in this game than perhaps earlier in the season, it allows you to allocate the boundary side inside linebacker in almost a hybrid nickel safety way. I kind of hesitate to describe it in that manner, but I'm going to use a play that Anzalone's really not involved in to try to illustrate this for you. He's put in significant conflict here, okay? First of all, there's a lot of communication going on between him, Melifonwu, Jack Campbell, and then I think Branch and Kirby Joseph down at the bottom side of the screen. You're going to get motion by the running back into the boundary. And so Anzalone's got his eyes on the tight end here. He's got to slow play this, whether it's an RPO or a play action, whatever it actually is. It certainly looks like it could be an RPO give by Darnold. He's got to slow play this because Darnold could keep it and then scoot back out to the right side. And again, from a man-to-man responsibility standpoint, Anzalone's got the tight end. So just like that read I showed you a moment ago where he came on the late blitz to hit the quarterback on the throw that could have been a touchdown to Justin Jefferson, you've got the same concept here. And so I'm building to my point overall, hopefully, which is Anzalone was essentially taking away a coverage responsibility by the DBs in a manner that allowed them to focus on Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison more intently. I don't mean it was just straight double teams, because that's not a conversation that I get into, because I just don't think it reflects reality. You can't just double team people all the time. But what it did do, in my opinion, was allow guys like Brian Branch, Melifonwu to be a little bit more heavy on reactions to those wide receiver routes, because conceptually, I believe in team meetings prior to this Vikings game, Aaron Glenn and the defensive staff was saying, hey, if Alex plays, he's got the tight end, and we're going to live or die with that matchup. This is second quarter. I think it's actually 7-3 here. I believe I have this score here mislabeled, but I could be wrong. It's a 3rd and 5. And watch the Vikings switch sides with their receivers. I believe they're trying to get Justin Jefferson away from Amik Robertson. Am I saying that he's shutting Jefferson down? No, but I think it was a factor, them trying to get him into the slot away from Amik. As a secondary point to this, third time in this game, just in the first half, where I've seen Anzalone come over to an edge defender or a D tackle and tell them something pre-snap to give them some kind of information about what's going to happen or what the coverage responsibility is. The tight end is the solo man, so he's the backside receiver, Hawkinson. So if it was man-to-man, theoretically, Amik would be on a man. It's actually not man. It's man within zone for Anzalone. So you got zone reactions by these guys and all of these guys, but a man responsibility by Anzalone. And look, if you don't get some pressure here at the end by Anzalone, there's a possibility that Sam Darnold gets this ball out to Jones, trying to throw it over the top of Anzalone, essentially layer the throw over the top of him. Amik is in zone. I think all of these guys are in zone, in fact. And so Amik would be late to try to respond to it, because he did hedge inside initially with TJ Hawkinson to react to that route. As it stands, I think it's Anzalone with the hit. Maybe it's Pascal, my apologies. And I did have the score wrong, like I said earlier. The Lions were up 7-3 there, held them to a field goal. The Vikings actually elected to kick the field goal there. And then Goff, if you remember, matched it with those two laser throws, one to St. Brown and one to Khalif Raymond to end the half and put them up 10-6. Moving forward to the third quarter here, this is a 4th and 2. This is the play that Arnold is responsible for Addison on. And at the end of the play, he's going to challenge Addison right at the catch point. Sam Darnold kind of moves out of the pocket here a little bit. 5-man rush concept. Jack Campbell really being locked up, I think, by Aaron Jones. And Addison is the guy who is responsible at the end for dealing with Jordan Addison. But as far as Anzalone goes, he's on the tight end, again, making no trickery, no disguise at all, just matching the route all the way across the back of the end zone, number one. Number two, they did this consistently when Jefferson was the backside X receiver, dropped the OLB out to basically help with a slant, to put him in the window of a slant, such that Darnold, if he was going to throw it, would have to hold on to the ball a little bit longer. He didn't actually look there first. I was just illustrating to you why I think the OLB Nowaski's dropping out of there. Like I said, it's a 4th and 2 in the third quarter. This was a huge moment. The Lions were able to hold on to a 10-6 lead. The coverage aspect, and what I tried to describe earlier in the lead-in, I think it started with Anzalone here. And in fact, Aaron Glenn, it's a little bit of a simplistic perspective to say they blitzed and played a ton of cover zero. Yes, they did do that often. But dropping out the OLBs in certain windows kind of helped Amik Robertson, Terrion Arnold, Brian Branch, different guys at times understand, hey, I have leverage side help inside, so I just need to make sure I don't get beat to the outside. Or the reverse might be true. And I think the starting point, the leadoff hitter for that type of mentality from a coverage perspective was Alex Anzalone, basically matching up with and giving extreme problems to the tight end TJ Hawkinson pretty much exclusively throughout the game. Still third quarter, the Lions are up 10-6. This is after Goff's interception in the middle of the field to Jamison Williams. Watch him directing Amik Robertson. Now, Amik doesn't seem bothered by it. Like, there's no level of, hey, don't tell me what to do. There's nothing like that. He just backs off like Anzalone has to tell him 3 times to do. And then after the motion by Jefferson, it's a 5-man rush scheme. So they're trying to make it look like Campbell is looping around to take the running back, except he's actually going off the edge. I believe I'll give you the end zone angle in a moment. The safety, Kirby Joseph, is actually coming down from depth to take the running back. So what they've done, since conceptually Aaron Glenn believes and trusts Anzalone with TJ Hawkinson, is it's allowed Melifonwu to focus over here where you have Justin Jefferson running a little bit of an in-breaking route. And I talked about this in the Amik Robertson video. Darnold has to throw that pretty much on the back hip, because if he doesn't, I think Darnold, as he's throwing the football, realized or saw that Melifonwu was in the window. He couldn't lead Justin Jefferson in this direction because that's where Melifonwu was playing from an alignment standpoint and from a reaction standpoint. And in my opinion, you can't get all of that done if you have to allocate Branch and or Melifonwu to dealing with the tight end. Anzalone's role as the leadoff hitter in that coverage paradigm, I don't think can be overstated. This is third quarter here. Another example of great contact balance, but not against the run. This is against the pass. So 3rd and 4, the Lions have now taken a 17-9 lead. Look, after a field goal by the Vikings got them to within 10-9, the Lions offense just took off. This is great contact balance, great recovery. He's actually kind of like on the wrong foot here when he gets shrugged off by Hawkinson, but takes a great angle underneath to challenge it because, well, I think he's got a great understanding of the down and distance. The line to gain is the plus 30. You can see Darnold is already pulling the pin to deliver the football. Anzalone undercutting it, getting right there at the catch point, such that there's no clean window for Hawkinson, even though it looked like right here there would be a significant window. Anzalone able to recover. Underrated athlete. I'll be honest with you. I first saw him play and saw film of him when the Ravens went to Detroit in 2021. And I remember thinking that I wasn't super impressed. This looks like a player who plays, to the boundary especially, plays incredibly high-level coverage, and I think I said that even late 2022. I believe I did a film study video of his between 2022 prior to 2023, but I know I did one after last season highlighting his coverage to the boundary. So many guys are illustrating tight coverage here. So you've got Amik outside leverage on Jefferson, and again, you've got the safety inside to help deal with anything there that's vertical or a post. Also, the opposite side safety is allocated to Jordan Addison. Branch is covering Addison. Essentially, Branch was able to play a slot corner position because, and again, forgive this poor phrasing, in some ways, Anzalone was playing almost a nickel hybrid at times against the tight end from a structural standpoint in terms of coverages, in my opinion. I think that the entire defense deserves credit. Amik Robertson, Alex Anzalone. The more I watch the film, the more guys I think are just playing great responsibility football and are put in position to succeed. This is the same play. 3rd and 4, like I said, it's 17-9 Lions at this point. Keep in mind, like I said, off screen to our right, Amik is outside leverage of Jefferson, and then Kirby Joseph is sitting over the top looking for a post or a vertical or a dig or anything like that. So Melifonwu is helping out with Branch and against Addison. You can see those guys flashing across your screen there. This, to me, and I don't think you have 10 or 12 plays like this. I understand there's going to be people either in the comment section or on social media who say, oh, they double-teamed Jefferson and they double-teamed Addison and they single-covered the tight end. Well, if you want to look at it that way, that's fine. But the reality is they did so with an inside linebacker. And inside linebackers are not supposed to be able to do that consistently, especially against an athlete as talented and gifted as TJ Hawkinson is. Obviously, Lions fans know that. I think that even I wasn't aware of how high of a level of play Anzalone put out during my reaction video, even though it's complimentary. His energy level his commitment and communication, and then from a responsibility standpoint, where he was against run concepts and pass plays was borderline perfect, in my opinion. Yeah, Hawkinson beat him early on the first third down that I showed you. For him to be able to play the run well, communicate pre-snap, help get everybody in the right look, and play the coverage that he did man-to-man against the tight end, I think it's a very rare trait. I'm not saying other inside linebackers in the NFL don't do this at times. How many of them do it while they've got a steel or chromium or whatever it is plate in his left forearm, which is the reason for my graphic that I put there. I understand I probably got the wrong Marvel Avenger. It's supposed to be Thor, but I thought that it was kind of appropriate for the fact that he came back in January, winter, and then played like a real soldier, if you ask me, helping lead the defense to one of the best performances of the season from a defense that's clearly very depleted and missing a ton of talent out there on the field, holding the Vikings to single digits for the first time in 2024. Darnold, his worst completion rate, lowest quarterback rating of the season, and I believe the Vikings' second lowest yardage production output of the year, ending their 9-game winning streak while securing home field advantage. Obviously, a very sweet win. I would have liked to have get this one out sooner, had some responsibilities to deal with on Tuesday. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number one. My apologies for the somewhat sloppy graphic. It's the best that I could do in the time that I had allotted. And finally, if you think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study look at Alex Anzalone's performance in his first game back after breaking his forearm in a collision with a teammate, mind you, around midseason, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.